This is Wayne from My Tech News, and in today's video, we'll be taking a look at the summer game sale for the Nintendo Switch, quote-unquote, the E3 2020 sale from Nintendo, and boy, oh boy, let me tell you, this is going to be the best Nintendo Switch sale all year. So if you're wanting to buy new games for your Nintendo Switch, this is definitely going to be the sell for you. And they practically have a lot on sale, and they practically have a game for almost everybody on this list, from first-party titles to third-party titles to indie games on here, and there is a lot to choose from. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at this sale, and I'm going to be talking about some of the games that I honestly think are worth a pickup, and maybe some stuff I think that you should honestly buy. And I'm not going to cover everything here because there is a lot on this summer game sale, and I don't know a lot about everything. But anyway, let's go ahead and go over to the Nintendo's website and actually talk about some of these games that are currently on sale for the Nintendo Switch. First off, you can see that since this is a summer game sale, or an E3 sale basically from Nintendo, they do have a lot of first-party titles on sale. And you guys know, with Nintendo consoles, rarely do first-party titles go on sale in any capacity. I will have to say, it is kind of a shame they didn't do anything too crazy. Like, for instance, they didn't give us Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Brothers, Mario Maker 2, so we don't get anything too big here, but I think these are some really good games, and I think these are games that not a lot of people may have bought since they're not the bigger Mario titles. Like, for instance, Mario Tennis Aces may have been overlooked because it is a sports game, and I know some people don't really like sports games and things like that, so maybe now is the time to buy something like that. Same thing with Super Mario Party. A lot of people have mixed feelings about Super Mario Party, so maybe at $41, it's not that bad of a deal. If I can pick any one from this page, specifically the first party titles from Nintendo, I would personally pick Captain Toad, because I think Captain Toad for $27.99 is actually a really good deal. It is a port of a Wii U game, of course, but it is a very unique puzzle game. If you haven't played this game, again, this game is also a game that is on the Wii U, the 3DS, and now the Nintendo Switch, so it's on multiple platforms at this point. But this is a really special game. The only downside to Captain Toad is just one of those games that's really not a game that you want to play multiple times. It's really a one-and-done type game, since if you try to replay this game, of course, obviously you'll know all the puzzles, but it's still a very fun game, and it's only going for $27.99, so it's not going to break the bank, and it's around the price you would pay for like a high-end indie game anyway, so $27.99 is not too bad. One of the best ones out of all of these ones that Nintendo is currently doing deals on, I would honestly go for Dragon Quest. If you are a big traditional RPG fan, like a turn-based RPG fan, just because Dragon Quest on the Nintendo Switch, first of all, is Dragon Quest 11 Echoes, and let me tell you, this game is worth the money at all costs, because this is pretty much a better version of any of the other versions of Dragon Quest 11, like on the PS4. I think it came out on the PS4, and this one definitely is way better than the PS4 version. Sure, the graphics might not compare to what the PS4 can output, but in terms of the actual raw content that you're getting out of this one, you're actually getting way more content than you would be getting in the PS4 version. And they also have a mode, I think, where you can switch the graphics. I don't know if that's in the PS4 version as well, but overall this one definitely 100% has more content than the PS4 version, and they have extra music, or different types of music that are in the original PS4 version. And this game specifically, you can get probably about 100 hours out of easily with this game, so this game's going to take you a very long time to beat. If you wanted to try to do everything in the game, do all the side quests and everything, this game can get very big and can take you a long time. And for $41, how can you really complain about Dragon Quest, since it is a big open RPG? The only thing bad about Dragon Quest, it is a little bit older game, because it is mostly a standard turn-based RPG, so a lot of people may not be a fan of traditional turn-based RPGs, but overall a very good deal right there. Another one that's actually also very good in terms of the value, in terms of how much content you can actually get out of the game, is definitely Dragon Quest Builders 2. If you want a game kind of like Minecraft and things like that, definitely check out Dragon Quest Builders 2, because that game, I heard, you can get a lot of content out of. You can get upwards of like 100, 200 hours, depending on how much you put into this game, what you do in this game. This game is just a very meaty game, and again, this game is only $41.99, so basically $42 for Dragon Quest Builders 2. And honestly, I would personally pick this game up, since I like things like Minecraft, and I like building games. I like games where you can like build a city and things like that. And overall, I think this is a very cool game, and they do implement some RPG elements as well. So it's not just Minecraft. Think of Minecraft, but with like RPG elements or action-based combat. That's pretty much what you got with Dragon Quest Builders 2. And I remember when this game first came out, especially on the Switch, they were promoting this thing all the time, man. This thing was like a game that they really did cherish and promote all the time. And honestly, you'll get your money's out of this game for $42. Definitely a very good game. Another game I do have to shout out here, which is pretty cheap, of course, definitely has to go to Dark Souls. I know Dark Souls is much more of an older game. A lot of people play Dark Souls, but just the price of this game for $23.99 is not really bad. I'm not too sure how the Dark Souls port of the first one actually holds up on the Nintendo Switch, but just the fact that it is really cheap, it's only $23, you might as well pull the plug if you wanted to play the original Dark Souls. Not too bad there. And then some other games that are kind of interesting here is Mario x Rabbids. Nothing's really interesting about this game. A lot of people already know about this game. It's a strategy RPG, kind of like XCOM, but the thing that makes this kind of not a good deal on this, at the same time it is a good deal, is just the fact that this game is $15, and the only problem with Mario x Rabbids, I would stay away from this game just due to the fact that this game always goes on sale almost all the time, even outside of these big sales. So you can get this game like at $20, $15, $25 a lot, and this game is always one of those bargain bin deals that I see so often. So I don't know why you would buy it here. If you can only buy one game, I would honestly skip on that, even though it is relatively cheap, and it is actually a very good game for strategy RPG fans. Honestly, I would skip that game, to be honest. Another one that's actually really good that I personally played has to go to Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled is a phenomenal game. The nice thing about Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled is they took the original Crash Team Racing back on the PS1, but they actually added more content to the game that wasn't originally part of that game. They took content from Nitro Fueled, I think, which was another Crash racing game, I think on the PS2, and then on top of that, they did add a lot of DLC to this game. I personally played the Switch port of this game, and the Switch port of this game is kind of iffy. The frame rate of the game is actually very stable and very nice, but the bad problem with CTR on the Nintendo Switch is just the fact that CTR plays at a bad resolution. It only plays at 720p, and for me personally, I wasn't too happy about it, when especially this is one of the better remasters out there. This game is just a phenomenal game. This game deserves love, and honestly, I don't know if I can recommend it for $60 since it only runs at 720p. You're better off playing it on PS4 or the Xbox One versions of the game, unless you want it portably. But for $23.99, it's almost like a no-brainer at this point to pick this game up for $23.99. And the coolest thing about this game compared to something like a traditional Mario Kart is the fact that this game has way more content than Mario Kart, especially if you're talking about the single-player experience. The single-player experience is 100% better than Mario Kart. It actually has a story. It actually has a lot to collect if you're trying to go for 100%. If you're trying to do everything, it can take you a very long time to actually complete this game. So overall, this is one of the better deals. Again, I have seen this game also, just like Mario x Rabbids, go on sale quite often as well. But for $23, it's not bad, and it's probably worth your time. And there is, just like I said, so much on here. I can spend hours talking about some of these games. Let me talk about some other standouts. I'm actually a big fan of Dead Cells. At $24 though, it's already a good deal, so I don't know if it's really worth $18. But if you were on the fence about this game because maybe it was too hard, or maybe you don't really like the art style, or maybe you don't, something about it you just do not like, for $24, and I would definitely pull the trigger on Dead Cells. But again, you're not saving too much money, and I think at $24 it's a very fair deal, especially since it is a roguelike, and roguelike games are meant to be replayed hundreds and hundreds of times. So of course you'd probably get your money's out of this all the time. And I have played this game, and I do love Dead Cells, and I think Dead Cells is one of the best roguelikes ever made. Honestly, it's a flat out fantastic game. The best thing about Dead Cells is the fact that Dead Cells has phenomenal combat. It's some of the most satisfying content you'll ever find out of a video game. If you want something that's fast, that's fluid, that's exciting, that's kind of like Dark Souls, where it's painfully difficult at times, it's just an amazing game. So props to Dead Cells, but I did want to talk about that. Some other games that are standout games here from Team 17. The only one I know that it's a real standout is definitely the Overcooked games. I have played Overcooked 2. If you're a fan of games that are really heavy co-op based games, then honestly I would recommend Overcooked 2. The only thing wrong with Overcooked is it's not a good game single player, so if you're thinking about buying this and you don't really have any friends, then skip it. But if you have a lot of friends to play with, the Switch is the perfect time to actually pick this game up. And honestly, I do think this is a really good deal, especially Overcooked 2 for $14.99, just due to the fact that I think $24 is a little expensive for this game, to be honest. At least from what I played, I liked the game, but I thought it was a little bit too high. It's one of the more higher priced indie games. You would have got your value out of it if you did pay $24 for a lot of people, but for $14.99 it's almost like, why not buy this game? But then again, if you're unsure about the formula or you don't really have anyone to play with, then I would recommend Overcooked 1. Of course, they're pretty much the same thing, but this one adds new recipes, and this one is one of my favorite co-op games of all time. It's just an amazing game, the way it works, the way it functions. I will have to say though, these games kind of feel like mobile-esque type games after a while, so maybe that's why the justification for $24 or $20 for one of these games aren't worth it. But on the sale, they're definitely worth it if you're looking for some co-op action. And then of course we got a whole bunch of games from Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco really does have a lot of games on sale right now. I don't really know too many of the standout games. One of them would be Katamari Damacy Reroll, because Katamari Damacy Reroll is an amazing game. I've actually played this game personally. I've beaten the game, and honestly I think this is an amazing game for only $10. It's a little weird, to be honest. It's basically where you're just rolling a ball of trash around, but it's more about the relaxing spirit of this game. And one thing that makes this game a really fun game, not just that you're rolling a ball of trash and trying to pick up stuff and make a ball bigger, is the fact that this game has amazing music. It might be one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. It's just very wacky, it's just over the top, it's just a very different soundtrack. Overall, give this game a chance at $10, because I absolutely love Katamari Damacy Reroll, and this is, I think, a port or a remake of the one back on PS2, I do believe. So there's that. I'm not too familiar with some of these other ones. Dragon Ball FighterZ or Fighter Z, however you pronounce it, is also, I guess, a good deal. Especially since it's normally going for $60 if you like fighting games. Overall, I heard that was actually a very good game. But then we also got Xenoverse 2, and Xenoverse 2 plays a little differently, but for $12, that's not bad. Let's go over to Devolver Digital and see what Devolver Digital has on sale that's actually some very good standouts. Now, from Devolver, I would definitely say my 100% favorite pick from all of these games. I am very familiar with Enter the Gungeon. It's actually one of my favorite indie games of all time, period, now. And for $7.49, you're going to get your money worth 100%. Even at $15, it was already a steal, in my opinion. I've already put in close to 500 hours in Enter the Gungeon. I adore, I cherish, I love Enter the Gungeon. No, it is a very hard roguelike game. It is also a twin-stick shooter, so if you ever played games like Geometry Wars, then you're pretty much going to feel right at home with Enter the Gungeon. But Enter the Gungeon has so much content. It's very long. It's very replayable. It'll take you a long time to collect everything. It's an amazing game for $7.49. Another standout game here definitely has to go to The Messenger. And before I talk about The Messenger, I just wanted to say, if you can pick between Exit the Gungeon and Enter the Gungeon, even though they're around the same price, you may be thinking to yourself, well, maybe I'll get more for my money if I spend the extra $1 for Exit the Gungeon. But Exit the Gungeon is not really a sequel to Enter the Gungeon. It actually has less content than Enter the Gungeon, so just keep that in mind when you're actually trying to buy one of these games. Definitely go with Enter the Gungeon and not Exit the Gungeon, because that one was originally a mobile game ported over to the Nintendo Switch, PC, and other consoles, so I would personally stay away from that and just get Enter the Gungeon, which is the main game. But going back to The Messenger, The Messenger is an absolute blast to play if you like old school, like 8-bit Nintendo games or 16-bit games. This game definitely has a very big twist. The Messenger is a game that I think that goes from 8-bit to 16-bit graphics, so that's really the big killer here. The music was phenomenal, the gameplay was phenomenal. It pretty much plays like an old school Ninja Gaiden, so if you wanted an updated version of a brand new Ninja Gaiden, that's pretty much what you're getting with this game. You're getting an 8-bit Ninja Gaiden game, and you guys know those games are some hard games, but they're very fun games, and they're some of the best games like on the NES. So The Messenger is definitely worth $9.99. I think a lot of people will like that game for $9.99. And then some other standout games here from Ubisoft. It looks like Ubisoft doesn't have too much to write home about here. I will have to say that the Stick of Truth is definitely fun. Don't think of it as like a licensed TV movie game, just because a licensed TV video game, just due to the fact that, oh, it's South Park, and a lot of these games that are licensed from like a movie or a TV show aren't good. These are some of the best RPGs out there, without a doubt. If you love South Park, you love the humor of South Park, you love everything South Park has to offer, then I really think you will find some value in South Park, The Stick of Truth. And for $11, you're really going to get your money out of it. The gameplay is solid. The comedy's solid. It's pretty much kind of like an extra episode of South Park. If you like South Park and you want to see some stuff that you've never seen from South Park, then I would definitely go ahead and pull the trigger on that game. Rayman Legends also I have played as well, and Rayman Legends is absolutely a phenomenal game if you like 2D platformers. It's actually one of my favorite 2D platformers of all time. Yes, it's just amazing. The graphics are amazing. The gameplay is amazing. Overall, it's one of the best ones out there, without a doubt. So, and the nice thing about Rayman Legends, from what I remember playing, is the fact that Rayman Legends actually has about 40 or 50 levels from the other Rayman game, Rayman Origins. So they pretty much give you 2 games for the price of one with Rayman Legends, and for $10, it's almost like a no-brainer right there for Rayman Legends. And yeah, that pretty much looks like all you should be buying from. Then I would say stay away from Starlink, just because Starlink's not worth it at this point. It's very repetitive. It's just not that good. So for $23, there's probably something better off you can spend for $23. See what WB Games has to offer. I have played the Scribblenauts games back on the Wii U, since these were original Wii U and 3DS games. And from what I liked, I really did like these games. So if you're looking for a puzzle game that's not a traditional puzzle game, then I would really recommend getting the Scribblenauts games, because for me personally, I'm not really a big fan of puzzle games in general, but for some reason Scribblenauts really spoke to me. It's basically like you go around solving these little problems for people. So basically how it works is you go solve these problems. Somebody will ask you a question, and then they want to solve this problem, and then you kind of have to answer their problem with, it's basically kind of like a riddle or something like that. And overall, I think you should give this game a try, because it is very unique for what it is. And the nice thing about the Scribblenauts games is they do have some type of replayability, because you can solve each individual puzzle in the game multiple ways. So there's not one right way to actually solve each puzzle, and it's just overall a blast. I actually never played the DC version of Scribblenauts. I only played the original version of the Scribblenauts game. So there it is. You are getting 2 games for the price of $10. So that's actually very good. If you want a game also like Grand Theft Auto, since we don't technically have a Grand Theft Auto style open world game on Switch, the next best thing is going to be the Lego City Undercover games. And here is the Lego City Undercover game. It's only going for about $10, and for that price, I would say pull the trigger. That's definitely one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch. That's really fun and really good. Don't think of it as like a poor man's Grand Theft Auto, because there is some humor here. The gameplay is pretty fun. Overall, it's just Lego Grand Theft Auto. That's the best way to put that game. And then next up, we do have some Resident Evil games. Of course, I can't really say anything bad about the Resident Evil games, because the Resident Evil games are Resident Evil games. And then there are some other games on the list, of course, but that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. I pretty much showed you some standout things that I thought were worthy of this sale and things like that, and there is a lot on sale, and there may be even more officially on the Nintendo eShop as well if you're browsing the Nintendo eShop officially. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.